My name's Nick. I'm 28, and I've been married to Ashley for 2 years. When we first got together, I thought I hit the jackpot. Ashley was stunning, charismatic, and had this way of making everyone around her feel like they were the center of the universe. We met at a friend's party, hit it off immediately, and after a whirlwind romance, we tied the knot. Everything seemed perfect, or at least I thought it was. The first year of our marriage was great. We traveled, had spontaneous date nights, and barely fought. But over the past few months, things started to feel off. Ashley became distant, spending more time out with her friends and less time at home. She was glued to her phone, always laughing at messages but brushing off my questions about who she was talking to. "Just the girls," she'd say with a smirk. "Not everything needs to be a big deal, Nick." First, I believed her. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband. But then there were the nights when she'd come home late, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. Or the time she accidentally sent me a text meant for someone else. A weird inside joke I didn't understand. She laughed it off, saying it was a message for her coworker, but something about her reaction felt off. The turning point was when she started going to the gym 5 days a week. Don't get me wrong, I had no problem with her working out, but Ashley had never shown any interest in fitness before. Suddenly, she was buying expensive workout clothes, taking gym selfies, and talking about her new trainer, Tyler, way too much. I chalked it up to a phase, trying to convince myself that I was overthinking things. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't realize how bad it really was. It all came crashing down one evening when Ashley left for one of her late-night gym sessions. I was at home, scrolling mindlessly through Instagram, when a notification popped up, a tagged photo of Ashley. Curious, I opened it, and my stomach dropped. It was a selfie of 2 guys at a bar, both grinning like they just won the lottery. And right in the background was Ashley, sitting between them, laughing and leaning way too close to one of them. The caption read, "Best wingman night ever with at Tyler_trainer and at Jake_Gaines." I clicked on their profiles, heart pounding. Tyler was exactly who I thought he was, her personal trainer. His feed was full of shirtless gym selfies, motivational quotes, and photos of him partying with clients. But Jake? He was new. Another gym rat, younger than me by at least 5 years. Scrolling through their profiles, I found more pictures and videos of the 3 of them together. Beach outings, nights at the club, even a clip of Ashley doing squats while Tyler spotted her. His hands way too familiar with her waist. The comments from Jake were even worse. "When are we gonna get round 2, Ash? Fire. Best weekend ever. Can't wait to see you again, Red Heart." My heart was racing as I pieced it all together. Ashley wasn't just cheating. She was seeing both of them. I wanted to believe I was jumping to conclusions, but the evidence was too damning. To confirm my worst fears, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her laptop. She never logged out of her email, and my hands were shaking as I opened it. What I found broke me. There were dozens of messages between Ashley, Tyler, and Jake. Flirty exchanges, plans to meet up, and even explicit photos. The worst was an email from Ashley to Jake. "Tyler doesn't have to know about last night. What he doesn't know won't hurt him," winking face. She was playing both of them just like she was playing me. I closed the laptop and sat there in silence, my chest tight and my mind racing. The woman I'd built my life around, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, was living a double life. I didn't know whether to cry, scream, or laugh at the absurdity of it all. The only thing I did know was that I couldn't ignore it anymore. The truth was out, and I had to decide what to do next. The confrontation happened the very next evening. Ashley came home late. As usual, her gym bag slung over her shoulder. She was wearing makeup, not something she typically did for workouts, and had this smug little smile on her face like she was the queen of the world. "Hey, babe," she said casually, dropping her bag by the door. "What's for dinner?" I didn't answer. I was sitting on the couch, the laptop open on the coffee table, displaying one of her emails to Jake. My hands were clasped together tightly to keep from shaking. Her smile faltered when she saw my expression. "What's with the serious face?" I pointed at the laptop. "We need to talk, Ashley." She glanced at the screen, her face going pale for a split second before she quickly recovered. "You went through my emails?" she snapped, her voice dripping with indignation. "That's such a violation of privacy. Nick, what the hell is wrong with you?" I stood up, my anger bubbling to the surface. "What's wrong with me? Are you seriously trying to play the victim right now?" "I saw the emails, Ashley. I saw the pictures. Tyler, Jake. How long has this been going on?" She crossed her arms, glaring at me. "You're overreacting," she said dismissively. "Tyler's just my trainer and Jake's a friend. None of this is what you think it is." I laughed bitterly. "Oh, really? So, when you emailed Jake, Tyler doesn't have to know about last night? Were you just talking about a game of Scrabble?" Her mouth opened, then closed again as she struggled to come up with a response. Finally, she sighed dramatically and rolled her eyes. "Fine," she said, throwing up her hands. "Yes, I've been seeing Tyler and Jake. But it's not like it means anything. It's just fun. Fun," I repeated, my voice shaking. "You've been lying to me, sneaking around, making me feel like an idiot, and it's just fun to you?" "Oh, come on, Nick," she said, her tone condescending. "Don't be so uptight. It's not like you're some perfect husband. Maybe if you were more exciting, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stared at her, trying to process the sheer audacity of what she was saying. "So this is my fault now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Ashley shrugged, leaning against the wall with a smirk. "I'm just saying, maybe if you put in a little more effort, I wouldn't have to explore other options." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You're unbelievable," I said, shaking my head. "I've spent the last 2 years giving you everything, and this is how you repay me? Get over it, Nick," she said, rolling her eyes again. "People cheat. It happens. Don't be such a drama queen." Her cold, dismissive attitude was the final straw. I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her standing there without another word. I didn't trust myself to say anything else. I was too angry, too hurt. That night, I slept on the couch, staring at the ceiling and wondering how I'd ended up here. The woman I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with wasn't just unfaithful. She was heartless. That night on the couch was one of the longest of my life. I didn't sleep, not really. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing with them. Tyler spotting her at the gym, his hands too familiar. Jake leaning in too close at the bar. Her smirk when she said, "It's just fun." I felt hollow, like someone had reached into my chest and pulled everything out, leaving a cold, empty shell behind. The anger hit first. How could she do this to me? After everything I'd done for her, helping her through job changes, paying off her credit card debt, being there every time she needed me. This was the thanks I got? To be treated like I wasn't enough? Then came the sadness. 2 years of marriage. 2 years of thinking we were building something real. I thought we were partners, teammates. I'd loved her with everything I had, and she hadn't just betrayed me. She'd made a joke out of our relationship. By the early morning, the self-doubt started creeping in. Was it my fault? Had I missed something? Was I really that boring or predictable, like she said? Maybe if I'd been more exciting, more spontaneous, she wouldn't have felt the need to cheat. I kept replaying every fight, every moment when things felt off, searching for answers. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make sense of it. The next few days were a blur. I avoided Ashley as much as possible, throwing myself into work to keep my mind off things. She didn't seem to care. If anything, she acted like nothing had happened, scrolling through her phone, going out with friends, and barely acknowledging me when we were in the same room. The worst part was pretending everything was normal around other people. I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone. Not my friends, not my family. How do you even start that conversation? "Hey, so, my wife's cheating on me with 2 guys, and she doesn't even seem sorry about it. Pass the chips, please." Every night, I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was losing pieces of myself. I wanted to scream, to cry, to punch something, anything to let out the storm inside me. But all I could do was lie there, trapped in my own head. I knew I couldn't live like this forever. Something had to change. I just didn't know what yet. A few days after the confrontation, something happened that flipped everything on its head. I was at home, working late on my laptop, when there was a knock at the door. It was almost 9 p.m., and Ashley wasn't home. Typical at this point. When I opened the door, I was stunned to see Jake standing there. He looked nervous. His hands were stuffed into his pockets, and he wouldn't meet my eyes. "What the hell are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice low but firm. "Nick," he started, his voice shaky. "I know I'm the last person you want to see right now, but I need to talk to you. It's about Ashley." I stared at him, debating whether to slam the door in his face. But something about his tone stopped me. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside and let him in. We sat in the living room, an awkward silence hanging between us. Finally, Jake spoke. "Look, man, I didn't know she was married when we started. Whatever this is, she told me you two were separating, that you were already living separate lives." I clenched my fists, trying to keep my anger in check. "And you just believed her?" He nodded, shame written all over his face. "Yeah, I did. She's convincing, you know? But then I started noticing things that didn't add up. She'd lie about where she was going, make up excuses for why I couldn't come over to her place. That's when I found out about Tyler." My heart sank. "What do you mean, you found out about Tyler?" Jake hesitated, then pulled out his phone and showed me a series of screenshots. Texts between him and Ashley, texts between Ashley and Tyler. They painted a picture of a woman juggling two men and manipulating both. "She told Tyler the same thing she told me," Jake said. "That you guys were done, that she was just waiting for the divorce to go through. But then I found out she was still coming home to you every night." I leaned back, the weight of everything crashing down on me. "So you're telling me that while she was cheating on me, she was also lying to you and Tyler?" Jake nodded. "Yeah. And when I confronted her about it, she just laughed it off. Said it was none of my business who else she was seeing." The rage I'd been holding back erupted. "Unbelievable," I muttered, standing up and pacing the room. "She's been playing all of us." Jake stood too, looking genuinely remorseful.
"I'm sorry, Nick."
"I didn't know it would turn into this. I thought you deserved to know." I turned to him, my anger starting to cool into something more focused. "Thanks for telling me, but if you're looking for forgiveness, I don't have it in me right now." "I get it," he said quietly. "Good luck, man." After he left, I sat back down, trying to process everything. Ashley wasn't just unfaithful. She was a master manipulator, stringing along not one, but two guys, all while lying to me and treating me like the problem. If there was any part of me that still wanted to salvage this marriage, it was gone now. I needed a plan. This wasn't just about ending things, it was about making sure Ashley couldn't keep getting away with this. Jake's visit was the final push I needed to stop wallowing and start taking action. It was clear now that Ashley had no intention of coming clean or taking accountability. If I wanted to get out of this mess with any dignity, and protect myself from whatever other chaos she might drag me into, I needed to be smart. The first step was documenting everything. I went through her laptop again, taking screenshots of the emails and texts between her, Tyler, and Jake. I saved photos from their social media accounts where Ashley was clearly involved, including timestamps and comments that proved she'd been lying about her whereabouts. I also started keeping a journal. Every time Ashley came home late, every suspicious excuse she gave, I wrote it down. My lawyer would need all the ammunition I could give him, and I wasn't going to let her slippery tactics work against me in court. Next, I contacted a divorce lawyer. I laid everything out for him, her affairs, her manipulations, the financial strain she'd put on us with her impulsive spending. My lawyer nodded grimly. "It's good you're documenting this," he said. "Judges don't take kindly to infidelity, especially when it's as blatant as this." I also opened a separate bank account and started redirecting my paychecks there. Ashley had a habit of raiding our joint account for her frivolous purchases, and I wasn't about to let her drain me dry on her way out. As I prepared for the inevitable, Ashley remained oblivious. She was still coming and going as she pleased, acting like she had nothing to hide. It was almost laughable, the way she carried on as if I didn't know exactly what she was doing. One night, she waltzed in at midnight, her cheeks flushed and her hair messy. "Long workout?" I asked, unable to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. She shot me a sharp look. "Don't start, Nick. I'm not in the mood for your passive-aggressive crap." I just smiled. "No problem. I'm sure your trainer worked you hard tonight." She rolled her eyes and stomped off to the bedroom, muttering something under her breath. Little did she know, her reign of manipulation was coming to an end. By the time I finished gathering evidence and lining up my finances, I felt like I had a solid plan in place. But there was one more thing I needed to do before confronting Ashley again. I reached out to Tyler. It wasn't easy finding his contact information, but social media has its ways. I sent him a direct message.
Dile.
"My name is Nick. I'm Ashley's husband. I think we need to talk." It was a gamble, but I had a feeling he didn't know the full story either. If Ashley was willing to lie to Jake and me, there was no doubt she'd done the same to Tyler. And if he was anything like Jake, he might be just as eager to expose her lies. It was time to turn the tables. Tyler responded to my message the next day with a short reply, "Call me." He included his number, and after taking a deep breath, I dialed it. "Nick?" he answered after a couple of rings. His voice was cautious, like he wasn't sure what to expect. "Yeah, it's me," I said. "Thanks for agreeing to talk." He sighed. "I figured I should. I got a weird feeling this might explain some things." We spent the next hour laying everything out. I told him about Ashley's affair with Jake, her lies about being separated, and how she had been manipulating all three of us. Tyler was quiet for most of it, but when I finished, his tone was sharp. "Are you serious? She told me you two were in the middle of a divorce, that you were controlling and didn't let her do anything." I let out a bitter laugh. "Yeah, that's her go-to move. Paint herself as the victim to justify whatever she's doing." Tyler cursed under his breath. "Man, I feel like an idiot. I believed every word she said. She even made me feel bad for questioning her sometimes." "You're not the first person she's manipulated," I said, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice. "Jake told me the same thing." There was a pause on the line before Tyler dropped his own bombshell. "Jake?" I knew she was seeing someone else, but I didn't know it was him. It took a second for his words to sink in. "Wait," I said slowly. "You knew she was seeing someone else?" "Yeah," Tyler admitted, his voice tight. "I confronted her about it a few weeks ago. She denied it at first, but eventually, she said it was nothing serious. She promised it wouldn't affect us." The audacity of it all left me speechless. Not only had Ashley lied to me, but she'd been stringing along two other guys who now knew about each other. "Tyler," I said after a long silence, "do you have any proof? Messages, photos, anything that shows what she's been doing?" "I've got texts," he said. "Some of them are explicit. And I've got receipts for some of the stuff she made me pay for, like hotel rooms." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She had been using Tyler for money on top of everything else. "Would you be willing to share those with my lawyer?" I asked. "I'm filing for divorce, and this would really help." "Yeah," he said after a pause. "Honestly, I want nothing to do with her after this. If it helps you, I'll send them over." We wrapped up the call, and within an hour, Tyler had emailed me everything. It was worse than I expected. Not only were there explicit messages, but there were conversations where Ashley openly mocked me. "Nick has no idea," one text read. "He's so clueless, it's almost cute." Almost. The sheer cruelty of it hit me like a punch to the gut. But instead of breaking me, it fueled my determination. Ashley thought she could play us all, but now the tables had turned. With Jake's information and Tyler's evidence, I had everything I needed to expose her lies and protect myself in court. All that was left was the final confrontation. I planned the confrontation carefully. I wanted it to be controlled, factual, and, most importantly, irrefutable. No room for her lies or manipulation this time. It was a Friday evening when Ashley came home, looking as smug as ever. She had that same carefree attitude, tossing her bag onto the couch like she didn't have a care in the world. "Hey, babe," she said, barely glancing at me. "I'm starving. What's for dinner?" I stood in the living room, holding a folder stuffed with printed screenshots, photos, and receipts from Tyler and Jake. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. "We need to talk, Ashley." She stopped mid-step, raising an eyebrow. "Ugh, what now? Is this about me coming home late? Because I'm not doing this again, Nick." "It's not about that," I said, setting the folder on the coffee table. "It's about this." She looked at the folder, then at me, her expression turning wary. "What's that?" "Evidence," I said simply. "Evidence of everything you've been lying about. Tyler, Jake, the hotel rooms, the money you've taken, the messages where you've been laughing at me behind my back. It's all here, Ashley." Her face drained of color, but she quickly recovered, putting on her signature defiance. "You've been stalking me now? Snooping through my private life? That's pathetic, Nick." I leaned forward, my voice cold. "Pathetic is lying to your husband, cheating with 2 other guys, and using all of us for your own amusement." She rolled her eyes, trying to act unfazed. "Oh, please, you don't even know what you're talking about. Whatever you think you've got in there, it's not what it looks like." I opened the folder and pulled out a printout of one of her texts to Jake. "Tyler doesn't have to know about last night." Winking face, I slid it across the table. "Explain this, then." For the first time, her composure cracked. She stammered, her eyes darting around the room like she was searching for an escape. It's just a joke. We were messing around. You're blowing this way out of proportion." "Oh, really?" I said, pulling out a receipt for a hotel stay she'd booked with Tyler. "Was this a joke too? Or how about the money you've been taking out of our account? The late-night gym sessions? You've been lying to me for months, Ashley." Her face twisted into a snarl. "So what if I have?" she snapped. "You're boring, Nick. You're predictable, and I deserve better. Tyler and Jake actually make me feel alive. Unlike you." Her words stung, but I didn't let her see it. "You deserve better?" I said quietly.
No, Ashley.
"You don't deserve better. You deserve exactly what's coming to you. And that's divorce papers." She froze, her eyes wide. "You're kidding." I shook my head. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. This marriage is over. And don't think you're walking away with anything, Ashley. Between the evidence I've collected and Tyler's and Jake's cooperation, you don't have a leg to stand on." She stared at me, stunned into silence. For the first time in years, I felt like I had the upper hand. "Pack your things," I said, my voice firm. "I want you out of this house by the end of the weekend." She opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. "No more lies, Ashley. No more excuses. This is done." She stormed upstairs, slamming the door behind her. I sat down on the couch, the adrenaline finally starting to wear off. I felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, anger, sadness, but mostly, I felt free. This wasn't the life I'd planned, but at least now, I could start over on my own terms. Ashley was gone by Sunday evening, dragging her luggage out of the house without so much as a glance in my direction. She didn't even try to fight the timeline I gave her. Probably because she knew she didn't have a leg to stand on. The silence in the house after she left was deafening. It felt strange, almost surreal, to sit in the same rooms where we'd once laughed, argued, and made plans for the future, knowing it had all been a lie. But the silence also felt like a clean slate. For the first time in months, I wasn't walking on eggshells or second-guessing myself. I was free to focus on what came next. The divorce process was messy but short-lived. With the evidence Tyler and Jake provided, Ashley's attempts to contest my terms fell apart quickly. My lawyer made sure she walked away with as little as possible. To my surprise, Jake and Tyler both reached out after Ashley left. Jake apologized again for his role in the mess, and Tyler admitted he felt used and humiliated. "She played all of us," Tyler said over the phone one evening. "I hate that I let her get into my head. I didn't blame them. Ashley had a way of wrapping people around her finger, and I'd fallen for it too. If anything, their willingness to come clean and own their mistakes gave me a sense of closure I didn't think I'd find. The hardest part of moving on was dealing with the emotional aftermath. The anger came in waves, followed by moments of sadness and self-doubt. I replayed every argument, every lie, every red flag I'd ignored, wondering how I could have been so blind. But slowly I started to rebuild. I leaned on my friends and family, opening up about what happened even when it was painful. Their support reminded me that I wasn't alone and that I was more than the sum of my failed marriage. I also threw myself into things I'd neglected during my time with Ashley. I picked up old hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and even started hitting the gym. Not out of spite, but because I wanted to feel strong again, physically and mentally. As for Ashley, I heard through the grapevine that her life wasn't going so well. Tyler and Jake both cut ties with her, and without her carefully constructed web of lies, she struggled to maintain the facade she'd built. I didn't revel in her downfall, but I didn't feel sorry for her either. By the time the divorce was finalized, I felt like a new person. The pain wasn't entirely gone. Maybe it never would be, but I no longer felt weighed down by it. I was finally looking forward to the future. One evening, as I sat in my now empty house, I thought about everything I'd been through. The lies, the betrayal, the heartbreak. It had been the hardest thing I'd ever endured, but it had also shown me how strong I could be. It's been 6 months since the divorce was finalized, and my life has taken a turn I never expected, but for the better. The first few weeks after Ashley moved out were rough. I'd catch myself glancing at the door, half expecting her to walk in like she always did. But as time passed, I started to appreciate the peace. No more lies, no more late-night gym sessions, no more constant tension in the air. I spent a lot of time reflecting on everything that happened. There were moments when I blamed myself, wondering if I'd missed something, if I could have done more to prevent it. But the truth is, Ashley's actions weren't my fault. She made her choices, and those choices revealed who she truly was. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's the importance of trusting your instincts. Those little moments when something feels off, they matter. I ignored my gut for too long, convincing myself I was being paranoid, and it allowed the lies to grow unchecked. Another thing I've learned is that betrayal doesn't have to break you. It hurts like hell, yes, but it can also be a wake-up call, a chance to rebuild your life on your own terms. I've started doing things I never would have done before. Taking solo trips, trying new hobbies, and even dipping my toes into the world of dating again. Speaking of dating, it's a slow process. I've met a few people, but I'm taking my time. I know I need to heal fully before jumping into anything serious. But the idea of love no longer feels impossible. If anything, I'm hopeful that the next chapter of my life will be written with someone who values honesty, loyalty, and respect. As for Ashley, I haven't spoken to her since the divorce was finalized, and I have no plans to. She's a part of my past, not my future. The last I heard, she was struggling to keep her life together now that Tyler and Jake have both cut ties with her. But that's her journey to deal with, not mine. For anyone reading this who's going through something similar, here's my advice. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Document everything. It's not just about protecting yourself legally. It's about having proof for when you start doubting your own perception. Lean on your support system. Friends, family, even online communities like this one, they can be a lifeline when you feel like you're drowning. Take your time healing. There's no rush to move on. Give yourself the space to grieve and rebuild. Betrayal is devastating, but it doesn't have to define you. If anything, it can be a reminder of your own strength. I've learned that I'm capable of so much more than I ever realized, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds. Thank you for staying with me. This crazy journey is finally over. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more interesting stories. And leave a comment with what you would do in this situation. See you in the next videos.